Thanks. Hi, everyone. We have to get comfy, which takes a while in these big chairs. And then you have to hide your microphone slightly as well. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Kinvara. Thank you all so much for coming. This is Christopher, and this is Peter. And we, are we showing the video? Where's Jenny? Are we going to show the video first? Yes, I think we are. Before we start, we're just going to take a look at Peter and Christopher's latest show, which was Autumn-Winter 16. Great. I think. Good Googler, and there's not so much about you considering how huge you are in England and around the world. You're a slight mystery, so I'm personally very excited to ask you lots because I never have the time to do that when we see each other at work. You're sold in stores all around the world. You've been going not that long. You've taken the world by storm. So I want to talk a little bit about how you began, how you met, why you're called Peter Pilotto and you're called Christopher de Vos. A lot of people ask that. We want to just touch upon how you guys kind of came to work together. And then I want to fast forward to where you are now and how you work together as a team and the journey that you've come on. So, how did you meet?
So we met about 16 years ago in Antwerp. We studied in the academy there and we're in first year together. And yeah, so it's been a while, and it was very exciting then in Antwerp because the school is very, very hard, and like every year half of the class fails, so it's highly dramatic. You worry about going to the next year every year, and yes, we were in this together.
I think Antwerp was really exciting because the studies were so complex and so hard, and somehow every year showed, and every year you had those big projects, and you had to make really things happen. So it was a really good school to learn how to actually execute and be able to realize, your designs. I think so many of the schools out there are all about the designs, but the execution is less important. Whereas Antwerp, it's really about getting to express and learning to know yourself, what you're good at and what you're able, and So I think that there's not really you don't enter with a certain thing. The course is in general fashion design, and then you get to, by doing and learning, you get to know if you're actually good at prints, or you're good at menswear or women's wear, kids wear. You could actually do anything you wanted.
And were you always wanting to be, I know your father owned a fashion boutique. Did you both dream, live and breathe fashion from a very early age, or were you just applying to Antwerp, not really sure where it was going to take you?
I'm half Peruvian, half Belgian, half Peruvian, and I traveled a lot during my childhood, and I was always interested in fashion, but I think my father, as a strict engineer, he really didn't want to fashion.
Okay, interesting. So he was an engineer, so that's probably where a lot of your attention to detail and construction comes from.
So I wanted to study either architecture or fashion. So I ended up going back to Belgium to study architecture, and I realized, oh, there's this amazing school in Antwerp. I want to give it a try, and then I ended up doing fashion.
Okay. Okay, Peter?
And yeah, I grew up, my parents had and have a fashion store. So I grew up surrounded by fashion.
What were they selling in the store?
Well, in the 80s, they were selling brands like Armani, Alaya, Romeo Chili, so all these brands when they were fairly new. So it was, very interesting, and they kept on evolving sort of in every decade.
Did you work on the shop floor?
Yeah, I did, and
Okay.
I was doing the shop windows, and I was playing in the shop and in the archive of the shop, so I really loved it. And I was doing collages with the lookbooks of designers, and so on. So it was really fun. But yeah, and they were selling in the 90s as well, Belgium designers, so I always knew about the school, and knew that it's a great school.
Now, I would say a lot of your peers, so for me, and I mean, I've sort of worked in fashion for quite a long time from the very beginning. In the 90s, I worked for Thomas Starjewski, who was on Sloane Street making things for Princess Diana. The world has changed quite a lot since those days of the lady who lunched. But a lot of you've kind of exploded onto the scene along with quite a few other British names. They're not necessarily British, but they've come from London. And they all came from St. Martin's. So how did you come from the Antwerp school? Because a lot of people, Mary Catranzu, Christopher Kane, all these people, they were kind of established within London already. How did you guys come via Antwerp and land so well and so strongly in the UK?
I think because, I mean, while we're studying in Antwerp, there's a certain thing about Antwerp style, and I think, in a way, our style was much more international than an Antwerp style. I think we always aimed, because of our backgrounds as well, we're both like dual nationality and kind of international. I think it fitted so well, our aesthetic and naturally to move to London and start the brand from here. I think there was really an attraction to London, and London being such a world city. I think it's maybe, us studying in Antwerp was great, but at the end of the day, it's such a small village, and we felt like, we needed to move to a bigger city, and it was a natural thing to come to London.
And how do you start a fashion label, literally? I mean, what do you start with? You make the dress, you make a pattern, you book in with the BFC for a show space, like what do you do?
So I started already in Antwerp. People wanted to buy my graduation collection, that's why I started doing stuff. Meanwhile, Christopher moved to London, I followed, and we decided to join forces. So we kind of got introduced to the BFC and started applying for the new channel support and all these things. It went from there.
I think we had like key supporters in London from the start. I think, obviously the BFC, there was the CFE, and instrumental people such as, there was Sarah Moore and, people like from the BFC, Barbara Crispini, just really instrumental people that saw what we were doing and embraced us, completely took us on board. And I think the support came gradually, people, obviously we started and then we arrived and then we had a half sponsorship with the BFC with the new Jan and then a full one and then, things I think once they see that, their sponsorship sort of pays off as well and they see a brand evolving and growing into what it is, it's just really natural progression.
I think it was really interesting when you talk about someone like Sarah Moore, is that in this modern world when there are so many bloggers and, in the olden days the press were a very small number of people who had a huge voice and they were the only critics, and then you have the rise of the bloggers where there's many more critics and their voice does matter. But actually what you're saying is someone like Sarah Moore, who is an incredible and very important journalist, her words are very articulate and amazing. She is just as important to a brand as ever before, whether there are bloggers or not. And I think that's a really valid point. So when you have people like that championing you, it really does have an impact, right? Yeah.
Completely.
Completely.
Yeah, no, it's amazing because, obviously she kind of gives a seal of approval to what you do, and then that has consequences. Then you're on the best magazines, and it just says, you know, like, it just goes on and on. I think Sarah, obviously, I mean, she's such an influential person in press, but as well through her involvements in different things, you know, she's become a really, you know, in fashion, really important in London scene.
So when you started out, you guys got together. What is the creative process when there's two of you? How do you make sure that you're both not just doing exactly the same thing? Or maybe you do the same thing.
Sorry, but back to Sarah,
Yeah.
like, the funny story with her is that, I mean, she's so important, and then she calls us up one day and we're like, oh, hi, this is Sarah Moore from American Vogue, we're going to come and preview the collection. And I'm like, Peter, she wants to preview the collection, like, why? And I'm like, no, you know, we have no time. See you after, you know?
Because we just moved from Antwerp and kind of were
We didn't know who she
deconnected.
was, you know? So it's just to say, you know, it's important as well to be natural in what you're doing and not, oh, it's Sarah Moore, you know, like,
Yeah.
things happen naturally. I think this is what's really important about the whole thing in fashion. It's whenever things are too forced, it just doesn't happen.
When you do get a call from American Vogue, does it still get everyone excited? Does it still have that power that it always did? The power of editorial? Or because of social media, which I want to talk about in a minute, but the power of social media, is it less the only way for you to get your clothes out there in the olden days was to get some editorial, to get your dress on model in print? Now we can see your dresses on the red carpet, which I also want to talk about. So does something like Vogue still have huge power for you as artists, as designers and businessmen? Or is it one of a number of things that you need in order to get your brand out there?
I think it absolutely is still very important. I think there's just different things that are equally as important. And
I mean, on the strategy, I mean, I think Vogue is still the biggest magazine, and obviously people like Anna Wintour, again, another great supporter of the brand. It's one of these people that you email and you can be sure that she will email back like in 20 minutes, you know, like
Really?
It's so incredible how close.
I'm not sure everyone would say that, so I think you should take that as a compliment, because I haven't heard that she does that to everyone.
No, but she's
And I've interviewed her for Apple. I didn't get the email back in 20 minutes, I can tell you.
well.
So you can take that as a compliment. But it's still, there is power there. I think it's nice to know after all these years that the relationship between editorial and the designers is still really important and really strong, because a lot of people would say it isn't as important. No, so just take me through, from the beginning you arrive, how do you work together? I've been to your amazing studio. What is your daily process between you as a duo? Because I'm sure there's lots of designers or budding designers in the audience who want to know how you actually get the work done. Are you sleeping under bubble wrap, which Mary Catranza used to tell me that she would just sleep in bubble wrap and then get up again?
well, we try to avoid that, but it's a constant dialogue. First of all, we constantly speak about what we want to do, what we want to do next. It's always sort of a reaction or a continuation of the previous season, things we discovered that we want to push further, and so it's then we would do a research, and that complements, you know, the other one's research, and it's an ongoing dialogue in every step of the way.
And is one designing and one crafting on a mannequin, or you're both pretty good at both the same things?
Well, I think that's maybe a simplification of what we do, and in an ideal world, I think we would like to just do that. But no, I think it's much more than that. But yes, I think we always like to explain that. Well, I'm more into the shapes, and you're more into the colors and graphics, and then we combine it all. But it's not that simple. I think the dialogue aspect, and sometimes, you know, like we just switch, and I take on what Peter was doing, and then I keep on doing the prints, and then he keeps on doing the shapes. But it's just really that bouncing back of ideas and things. And as the brand, you know, next year is going to be 10 years together. You know, I think we've learned, we've evolved our relationship and the way how we work, and I think what we've mostly learned is as we grew, the team grew, and sometimes, you know, I mean, we don't even need to talk. We just know what each other's thinks, but you have to think that there's a whole team that didn't
read the mind.
Yeah,
okay.
So, you know,
Yeah.
so sometimes, you know, you have to remember, okay, let's explain it properly, you know, that everybody else can follow.
Yeah.
So that's been probably the biggest challenge, right?
And if it's 10 years, you've had, from the very beginning, you're now sold in stores all around the world, and your work is really recognizable. Now, maybe 10 years ago, even, designers traditionally would be doing 2 seasons a year, 2 collections a year, fall and spring, summer. And then, as we've seen in the last 10 years, that's really evolved now, where you're expected to create 4, if not 6 collections, so you have what they call resort, but they don't even call it resort anymore, right? I mean, it just is pre-fall, whatever. How does that, for you as designers, does that excite you and give you more of a platform to just keep exercising your ideas and your incredible creativity and a way to sell more? Or is it completely exhausting and become too much for everyone, do you think?
I mean, the workload is huge, but it just means that you need to be organized, and that's what we try to improve constantly. What's great about it is the opportunity that you start a development of fabric or something, and it might doesn't reach the deadline of the pre-collection, but then you can make it into the show and you can push it even further. So it's kind of exciting to have that deadline in between. We usually try to start both seasons when we start the pre-collection, and therefore have more time for the show. But it's about how you structure these seasons.
And what's it like when you have so many retailers just waiting for your magic? And does that require serious logistics now? I mean, with everything with the e-commerce, you guys are on Matches, Net-a-Porter, everything. Is that easy to, rather than in the olden days, you would just deliver to a department store, that would be it. How does it work with e-commerce? Are you guys constantly supplying those boutiques, or you give them a certain amount at the beginning of the season, that's that, and they do what you want with it?
I mean, it's all about, it's at the end of the day, I think what the 4 seasons are about, it's about getting, that product on the shop floor at the right time for the right product. And I think it's something that brands like us or any fashion brand is reevaluating a little bit. What does it mean, the pre-collections, the main collections, when it delivers? I mean, it just feels like this constant delivers of things, but, there are, people say there's no more seasons, but there are. What are people actually wearing at the right time, I mean, people are talking about these things, but buy now, wear now, and all of that. And obviously, it makes you think, and, what do you need to, who are you catering for? So I think, it helps you to focus, definitely. But obviously, you need to anticipate what that product will be and all of that. I mean, I think the main reasons of the pre-collection are obviously, and people just see it, is shifting into pre-collections or most of the budgets, because just naturally the product is there longer on the shop floor, and then can reach better sell-throughs and, all of that. So yeah, it's interesting. But it's a constant flow of product, yeah. But that's why we're, when we started, we just did 2 seasons a year, and then we added the 3rd season, and then the 4th season. But I think while you do that, you just need to make sure that your teams are ready for that. And often people go into it and without having thought it through overall. But,
because I think you have to be a businessman, don't you? You have to be a business person as much as a designer today. For you guys to have got where you've got and be such a commercial success, and to produce beautiful clothes and to create these incredible shows, you can't just be a creator. You have to be an entrepreneur. You have to be a business person. And if you're not, you're off pretty quickly. That's what I've seen over the years. Are you guys very good at business? Or actually, should we talk a little bit about, because you got some investment recently, and how did that change for you, and what did that enable you to do and free you up to do? Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I mean, maybe we should do from the start that, we didn't have no business. Our school was not business at all. And I think that's one of the things when we came to London and we met the BFC and other organizations, is we heard from the first time what the word cash flow is, This was something that never in our school, we heard that word.
Okay. Even the word commercial was forbidden in our school,
we were,
just to say.
I remember we were in first year and the teacher was briefing us on whatever, and then Peter made the mistake to use the word commercial. The teacher...
Wearable,
yeah. And the teacher went ballistic.
Are you joking?
Ballistic.
That's fascinating.
She started shouting at Peter, the whole class, she said, this school is not about wearable.
Wow.
So I guess it took us coming to London to understand that that fashion is really, a product, and then you start going out, and what's amazing about London is that of course you have the stores and you have the support of the stores, you have the events, you have the people who shop. It's just such a fashion city, and getting closer to all of that, it really made us reacting, maybe open our business box in there, and and start thinking a little bit more business. But no, we're not businessmen. I think we are more, we're fashion designers. I think we've had a good instinct on certain things, but obviously taking investment, it meant really assessing. I mean, we were like, okay, now what do we do to reach the next level, and who do we partner up? It was really important for Peter and I to partner with people who, really understand the fact that we got to hear how do we get to the next level, and obviously with getting the investment, we then our whole team, the structure of the team, we're thinking seniority and getting an MD and in place for the right. That took already a year, CFO, all of that.
Did you have a lot of people coming to you wanting to invest in you, and you kind of auditioned people through a period, or did you just wait for the right fit? How does it work when you're giving up something very precious, really, to something that you might not know? How is that decision process?
Well, we met a lot of people. We're really lucky, had good guidance, and yeah, met then our investors, who some of them met already years ago, and felt it was the right match. So
now you're free to go forth into the world. So I want to talk a little bit now about your clothes, where they are at now. So you have, you're stocked all around the world. I'm wearing Peter Pilotto today, and most days, actually. You have a big celebrity following. When I was doing my homework, there's one website that's just, celebrities and Peter Pilotto, and it just goes on and on and on with some of the biggest names in the world. What impact does that have on sales? Do you see that happening directly? How important is that to you guys yourselves and to Peter Pilotto as a brand, to have that kind of endorsement? And I know we all live in this world where everyone goes, oh, it's not just about celebrities. But personally, when I see, whoever, Miranda Kerr in a dress that I actually own, I'm like, yay, So do you feel the same, or is it just part of the job for you and it's not really what you care about?
It's quite funny how it actually started when the first person wore a dress, because it was a few days before our Spring/Summer 9 show, and we're getting this phone call from a friend of ours who we studied with in Antwerp, and she's like, congratulations, Rihanna, and we're like, what are you talking about? And she's like, don't you Google yourself? And we're like, not all the time. It's like, do it now. And so she wore twice, we even realized only 3 days later that twice in a row she wore to MTV Awards and another event, different pieces from the collection in store at this moment. And it was amazing how anyway that created then this build-up to the show, and how immediately there was press all over the world of these dresses, which was great, because then we had calls from stores in so many places that wanted to schedule appointments. So it was so interesting, the effect it had, and the huge impact. So we then quite soon realized how important it is. But it was great because she bought these pieces actually in a store in LA. So it wasn't planned or arranged. It was really pieces that she wanted to have. And that's what happened a lot in the beginning, that people simply bought the pieces.
That's the best accolade ever, isn't it? And do you work with stylists? We have this whole power stylist culture now, especially in LA. Do you go out of your way? Is that part of a design house approach now? Is that a lot of money that maybe in the olden days was spent on PR, where you were working solely with the editors and working on that now, that budget is lent towards the red carpet, the celebrities, Cannes, BAFTAs, Oscars? Is that important for you? Is that something that you take very seriously? Because it seems to me like someone's putting a lot of time in on that front, or is this just...
I think it's really, as I said before, it's natural. I think we've sort of, the PRs are obviously proactive, but I mean, actually, we're right now working for the first time something that is custom made. So we've never done it before. So it's somebody really important had asked us, so we had to say yes, and it's an honor to do it. But so far it has not. I think it's obviously looks from the runway and that go into press, or there's call-ins from celebrities, and it just really has to feel natural.
Okay. And are there people that you don't want to lend to? I mean, how does it work out that you go, shit, Rihanna wants that, excuse my language, Rihanna wants that dress, Rihanna wants that dress, someone else needs that dress, someone else needs that dress, all three big names, we have to make three. I mean, does it work like that? Because I think all of us, we're just sitting there looking at magazines going, wow, but I mean, you're back in London frantically.
I guess that's the PR's job to leverage,
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a team effort, right? I mean, it's a lot of work.
Totally. I mean, it is, and it's not disappointing people and doing all of that, but
and
it's
then
worked quite
you
well.
have the image of Rihanna on the red carpet wearing your dress. How do you, as a brand, go and maximize that image? Can we talk about social media for a moment? How important is it for you? Are you guys yourselves on Instagram, Twitter all the time, checking out what's going on with your brand? Does it matter to you? And if you've got an image of Rihanna, what are you doing with it?
I mean, the thing with Instagram, I think what's been really important to Peter and I is that we don't have a personal Instagram. I think the Instagram that we have represents the company and not our personal lives. I think, we've never wanted our personal life, the food or whatever, that's not the kind of thing that we would do. I think obviously we're right now as well reassessing a little bit the Instagram and creating more content for it. I think obviously Instagram is an amazing tool as well for sales and everything and what the image of the brand is, but it needs a lot of attention. I think it's not something that you just do on the side nowadays, and that's how we feel, what we're doing.
But it's exciting to see the activity. It's exciting to see people wearing the collections and to see what's going on. It's a great way to research the different markets and reactions. I
mean, we love seeing on Instagram people wearing and tagging it. It's such a weird feeling. I mean, it's amazing. And then you see what's doing well in Asia or in the US or the different product, and it's I mean, as even market research and all of that, it's just really great.
It's amazing. If we talk about celebrities who wear your clothes, I'm wondering if those Instagrammers, I mean, the word blogger for me is a very archaic word and it doesn't really work anymore because blogger is something else and something else and something else. But in terms of those street-style Instagrammers who post themselves in one of your dresses, can you see a direct hit? I mean, I suppose you don't have your own e-commerce yet. I presume it will be coming. It better be. But if something like that happens, do you then get Net-a-Porter calling, going, we need 10 more units? I mean, how does it work? I think anyone in the audience might want to know, how does it actually work? If you're stocked on Net-a-Porter and Rihanna goes and wears a dress that's on Net-a-Porter, do they just sell out and that's the end? Or you can say, we actually would we've got 20 more. I mean, how much flexibility do you have?
I think some celebrities are stronger at selling product than others, so
Yeah. But can you maximize on that? Do we work in such a quick way in the world now that you can actually say, we're going to knock up 20 more?
Beyond, I mean, I think it goes beyond Instagram and celebrities. I think when there's a product that sells out, quick enough, then you try to replenish. Either you have stock or you try to recut and make more. You can, yeah.
Okay.
If it's, I mean, we've done that this season, and we do it every season with product that is doing well. It's doable.
Yeah. Okay. And are you thinking about a standalone store? Would you think about e-commerce before you do a standalone store? Is that something you're interested in?
I mean, it's kind of obviously the dream to express your word further, and so a store is kind of what we're planning, but not too soon. We feel like we wanna prepare other steps first and express our word further in the Instagram, in the shows, and all of that. But it's all about expressing the atmosphere surrounding the clothes and
I think it's a lot of things to rethink. I think it's especially this year of the monkey. I feel like,
a lot of change.
Is that what I didn't know what it was, but there's definitely something happening.
There is.
Yeah, okay, it's the monkey, all right.
Yeah.
But I think in this day and age now, as much as lovely as it is to have one's own altar, Mecca, that represents everything you're about, on Mount Street, which a lot of designers can go and do, when you have such a global following as you guys do, it would be foolish not to then do also something that's e-commerce where you can appeal to the whole world with one shop window, a virtual window. And the way that you do your shows, and I think, if you look at something like Burberry where you're able to buy immediately, would you consider that? Do you see that as a future business model for you guys where you can buy from the show, it's made before the show rather than afterwards?
I think, well, brands, smaller brands, I mean, in the scale of things, Burberry is a huge brand, we're a small brand. I think you really need to be ready for that model that Burberry's doing, the buy wear now thing. It has huge implications on all your back end and, preparing all of that. I don't think we would be ready for a full blow of that at all. I think fashion still needs a pace, and I think really making beautiful things take time, and I think this is something that even with Instagram and the fastness and all of that, I think somebody who, if you can really understand, your customer, how much craft gets into it, people will wait a little longer.
Right.
But I think it's, everybody's thinking about that, and everybody's trying to assess what is the best way going forward. But we really believe that that people who buy into the brand is just because they can see really the intricacy of the product, the fit, the beautiful embroideries, the different fabrications, the prints, and those things really, it takes time. You can rush it, you can maximize on time and do whatever, but you still, need to be a bit patient.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, we're going to open up for audience Q&A because we're not going to have so much time, and I know we have lots of questions. We've got a full audience. So if you have a question for Christopher or Peter or both of them, you just raise your hand, and I can choose or you can choose. I'll choose.
You choose.
I'll choose, and then someone from the team will bring you a microphone. Let's start with the gentleman just up there left, please.
Hello, thank you for your talk. It was really insightful, and your work is fantastic. I just wanted to kind of think about fast forwarding, maybe several years, like say 20, 30 years time. If a young person who was aspiring to be a designer just like you, if they came into the Victoria and Albert Museum, for example, and saw a retrospective of your work, what do you think they could learn from it? Because obviously your work is principally around the foundations of innovation. The cut is just exquisite, the way the items go down the runway and so on. So if you'd like to sort of suggest what people might learn in the future from your work. Thank you.
I vote for a V&A retrospective, that's for sure. So we'll put that in the diary.
Me too.
Well, what we believe is that it's important to really find yourself during your studies, to find things that truly inspire you, that you can connect with, and to be authentic in that sense. Like this, you can create a consistency because it's a continuation of things you believe in and want to push further.
Do you want to add to that?
I think that somebody who would see a work in 30 years' time would see a lot of passion, craftsmanship, a lot of work into it, and I just really hope that craft and people that can do all of that are still around in 30 years, that somebody could exploit that, or maybe technology has evolved so much that
It's just robots.
Robots doing, I don't know. But
you do work, and you have real tech. You're very forward-thinking in the way that you work, but you also use really traditional old methods as well. So for you guys, it's probably that real mix that's just going to get as futuristic as you go. You're going to still stick with the methods of the craft of the past. Am I right?
Yeah, we've always embraced technology in our designs, I think. And that's, I guess, how the brand really, got to get known with the printed dresses and the digital era that started around 9 years ago of digital printing. I think that was really down to us, embracing that technology and pushing it to the max. And I feel like us working with print mills in Italy, who just had bought these amazing machines from Japan, and us working with them and really getting the most out of it. And then there was this whole, sort of digital print phenomenon happening from there. Is one of those technological moments. I mean, now, obviously, we're working on other things. Like right now, we were dealing with 3D printing, which is really interesting, and we created all these weird components. And how do you take this to the next level? Obviously, there I can tell you already, there's a bit of a price issue that might take a little longer to make it into something so mainstream. I mean, mainstream. Not mainstream, but just more accessible. Commercial, yeah.
I actually saw a 3D printer making a bracelet at a conference I was speaking at, and I was so excited. But I mean, from 12 hours, it took 12 hours to make a bracelet. So I don't know how advanced the 3D printing is in order to actually make clothes and accessories. It may be further than I think, but it seems like still quite a long way off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for small components, it's okay.
Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry, enough of me talking. Okay, back to the audience. Great, gentleman over there, thank you.
It's a question to the two of you. So what was the reaction of your mom to your first collection? What did your mom say?
Sorry.
Should we start with yours?
Let's start with the friendly mom, and then we're like...
Yeah, I guess my parents and my mom are always very excited, and I mean they worked in the fashion industry for so many years, so they know how hard it is, and they kind of get it. But I mean, I was very enthusiastic.
Yeah, but I mean, having parents in the fashion industry really was an amazing support from the start. They really understood us. No.
Yeah, and supported and were
us.
open.
And I think you, obviously growing up in that environment, that I think is one of the strengths of the brand, because you always understood the customer. You work in your parents' store, and you knew how it is to sell things to,
I hope they're selling Peter Pilotto in their store now.
Yeah.
Good.
Are they?
Quite right. Good. Okay, next question. Ladies, up at the back here, please, on that side, on the left. If you can just pass the microphone along. Thank you. We'll do one and then the other.
Hi, I'm just want to say I'm so excited I'm here. I never expected to see you guys. I'm from America.
So welcome.
Hi. Yeah, you collaborated with the largest discount store in America a couple of years ago. And I'm just curious is it something that has helped you, something that you have regretted? Because I know some brands doesn't want to be doing that because they don't want to be something that's accessible to the mainstream. So just curious, or is it something that you would do again?
I mean, Target was such a great partner to team up with for this type of collaboration. They did so many great collaborations in the past, so they were really fully prepared for the dialogue with designers and making everything look very effortless towards us. So it was a very exciting project, and we feel like we learned a lot. It was exciting working with very different design restrictions on a very different price point. But we feel like it's kind of, we did it now with them, and so it's kind of, we really want to concentrate on our line for the next years and do this kind of thing later again.
I was in New York when that landed, and it was one of the fastest selling collections. And I also remember what was clever is that Net-a-Porter ran the Target Peter Pilotto collection, but no Net-a-Porter, and that was also one of the fastest selling. So I don't know how you gain from that, but it must have given you a huge boost to know that you were part of something. I mean, people were crazy. I bought so much. It was so affordable, it was crazy. So whether you do that again or not, I don't know, but it must at the time have been incredibly exciting.
Yeah, for visibility of the brand, it was really incredible. I mean, you know, it's just you're out there and TV ads and all of that. It's just such an amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
And I mean, Target were amazing to work with. The whole team was really great, and it made it really kind of feel seamless for us. It's just, no, it was great.
Okay.
And you know, accessibility, I think it's obviously, you know, we like to be accessible. It's just with the level of innovation and product development and intricacy, I think that it's really hard to hit that price point. You know,
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah. Okay, we have the lady next to you. Thank you.
Hi, guys. We talk a lot, but I don't get to ask you these questions because we talk about other fun things. But just about inspirations and things, because when you talked about in 30 years, you know, a lot of people get inspiration from past collections of other designers and from years ago, and it's two of you. So do one of you follow each other's lead? I know you guys are such a good pair that you kind of know where the one's going, but as far as inspirations, it seems like a lot of like technology, and you said the graphics are inspiring to you, and I don't know, just a lot of it lately seems like future and forward. So I'm just wondering where that inspiration comes from you guys, and does one of you take the lead and the other one sometimes, or you know, how does that work together?
I mean, the inspiration comes often from things we experience or see, so that's why traveling is, for instance, extremely important for us. It's super relaxing on one hand, but then you get to see things with your own eyes and can sort of think about them, and often then it's things we use, pictures we take on our trips, or equally seeing exhibitions and I mean, coming to places like the V&A is super important, but it's all about, we like to put opposites together in a way. We like to combine things that are usually not connected and find new harmonies in this way. So it's quite a mix of things that we would look at when we work on a collection.
Yeah, I think we do two types of research. The one research is traveling and experiencing places, and I think that always has an impact on the collections. And the other research is really on materials and techniques. I think we do always extensive research on that every season before starting, and that really excites us. So it's a mix of both, I would say.
Thank you. Okay, yes, just down here. If we can pass the microphone and then we'll come to that side. Keep your hand up, will you, just so they can see you. Thank you. We'll come to you in a minute. Okay.
Hi, I'm a fashion buying student, and we are doing a project about your brand right now. So my question is, are you going to expand your brand to have accessories or any other categories anytime soon?
Yeah, I
Don't
mean,
look at me.
No. I think expanding the brand at the right thing. I think there's so much that we can do with the women's ready-to-wear. I think every new category that we take or that we do, it's really analyzed properly. You know what it should be, and with the right supplier. I think it's so important to find. You know, it's a mix of things. But yes, I think depends what you're talking in the next year or in the next 5 years, or next 10 years, obviously. Yes, the idea is to expand and to do new categories, but really cautiously. I think it's really important that you take in, that you do things at the right time, having
the right partners.
Yeah, having done the right homework, and you know.
But when you say cautiously, is it more about the people that you're dealing with who's making the things? Or is it more about that aren't yet, are you worried about the audience? Because you are really cautious, and that's what keeps that control.
I think it's more, it's a mix of things, but definitely partnering up with the people who can do that product.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. And do you find those people happen to be, I mean, are you working a lot with English craftspeople, or are you mainly in Italy, or are you looking at China? How does it work with you?
I mean, it's really international, but I mean, you can see it in our team. Our team is international. You know, I think it's really English people, but people from Germany, Italy, France, all over the place.
All over. Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, we're waiting for the Peter Pilotto shoes, sunglasses, handbags. Hurry up. Thank you. Okay, now, I think we go to this side. Lady with the hand up just there. Thank you. And then we'll come to you at the back, I'd see.
Hi, I'm with the same class with her, fashion design student. I have a question about sustainability. I mean, you probably know it's a trend, especially in fashion in the past, I guess, 10 years. Can you give us some insight about how the brand is doing with sustainability in like all the supply chain, sourcing, manufacturing, etc.?
We've just been in Italy to visit some of our mills, and it's really great to hear how they're really working on, I mean, fabric mills, the suppliers where we get the fabrics from. It's great to hear how they're really working on improving the way they work on fabrics, the way they wash fabrics, the chemicals they use, so to really make it much more sustainable and to improve that. So we're very much dependent on our suppliers on the steps they take, but there's really a big change happening, and they have plans to really drastically change in the next 5 years. So every year, sort of, it's getting more sustainable.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we go back to this up there, the lady at the top balcony? Thanks.
Hi, I wanted to ask you about what do you think about the future of the fashion industry? I mean, people are not consuming the way they were before, not as much. And do you think about that, or what do you think about the future of this industry?
I think it's getting faster constantly, the whole cycle of everything. So I think within that crazy fast pace, one needs to make sure to create a frame that is right for oneself. I mean, it's great to benefit from the speed of things, but it's also important to create the space and time that it takes to do what you want to achieve. So to set goals in a realistic way and yeah, just to find your own level and sort of natural pace. But yet it's exciting because you can obviously reach people so much faster than you did in the past. And I mean, that's why the whole thing of questioning the fashion show, obviously in the past magazines would print these looks half a year later, while now it's, on Instagram so much faster than even, than the model is back from the catwalk. So it's all about finding the right balance between the speed and all of that.
Do you get excited by the idea of that pace? Is that the way you guys are, or is it quite daunting? The idea that someone's putting that look out on the Instagram before the model even came off backstage. When you're in that moment, are you like, oh my God, bring it on, or are you actually secretly thinking, oh my God, just get me home? I mean, what's it like?
I mean,
you always seem very calm, but I don't know if it's a front.
Maybe that's our natural reaction to the whole thing, to be as calm as possible in order to kind of stay focused.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very exciting, but it's a moment of rethinking all of that as well. It's a moment of questioning the way such things take place. But in any case, it's exciting. There's so much energy happening in these moments of the show, and yeah, it's so fast.
It's so fast. It's so fast. It's crazy. Even being at the shows, it's so fast. I find it's just, you see something.
I feel like for somebody like you that goes from show to show, how...
To be honest, now with the joy of live streaming, it used to be a sin to say that you would stay at home and watch something on live stream. But for me, I would rather come to 4 or 5 beautiful, beautiful things and make the effort, and then the rest I can see online, rather than be spending 9 hours a day going to 15 postcodes a day and getting sick. That's basically reality. We're only human. So thank God for the internet. Okay, we have time for one more question, and then we have to close because it's the end. And just to say, if you want to take photos, you're very welcome. And at the end, Peter and Christopher are going to just stay up here for anyone who wants to do some quick photos. So bear that in mind. Okay, we have time for one more question. There were so many hands up. Let's go to the lady at the back just there. Thank you. Great. Yes. Thank you.
Sorry, it's just you mentioned earlier that obviously DeVos is not part of the brand name, and I don't think we answered that question.
Yes, we didn't. Good one to end on. Why are you called Christopher DeVos and Peter Pilotto? Not what? Why? How did that happen?
Well, the company is called Pilotto DeVos.
Oh yes, of course it is actually.
And then I think the thing is, Peter started the brand a little bit before I joined. So then he already had like accounts, really good accounts. And then we went through the whole scenarios. Peter Christopher, Pilotto DeVos, DeVos and Pilotto, the Pilotto Vos, and it just sounded bad, you know what I mean? So why would you change it? Peter Pilotto sounds so good. Yeah.
It's so good. It's the best. And we love you both, and we know that you're both a part of it, and that's why it's so nice to speak with you both, because you're very mysterious, and it's a real honor for me to have both of you talking on the stage, because you don't do it all the time. So it's very rare for us to be here, and I thank you. You're such an inspiration. I am your biggest fan. You know that. And please, as long as you keep designing, I will keep wearing. So thank you both. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. It was so good.